Bennett is in his space, I'm in mine. Together we're in third space. Doing fine to do.
I tried to join in.
Yeah, no, it's probably not a keeper, but I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
I don't think so. But I appreciate the effort. B for
Yeah,
effort.
B for effort, I'll take it. I had a dumb thought the other day.
Yeah.
It's actually a dumb scientific question I want to ask you.
Okay.
I was getting some water from the fridge, and I do the, it's not Brita, I think it's Pura I use, whatever, it doesn't matter.
You've really been influenced by Daniel Does Science, haven't you?
Oh,
And
yeah, definitely.
and so now you're becoming a regular old scientist.
And I thought I'd how the turntables, you know?
Right.
So I had gotten the water out, and there was a debate in my mind, an internal one about, I'm literally pouring a glass super fast. Should I shut the door? Because I was thinking when you open a door, it probably creates some sort of, if you could imagine cold air like swirling out or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. I'll frame it, but that's essentially what I wrestled with. So my question, I'll frame it this way. You have a fridge. You open the door for 10 seconds straight and then close it. That's scenario one. Scenario two, same fridge, same temperature outside, all other things equal. You open the fridge for 2 seconds, you shut it for 2 seconds, you open for 2, you shut it for 2, you open for 2, so 10 seconds have passed, but you've only opened it for a total of 6 seconds. All right, so what do you suppose is going on, and which would be preferable to do?
Wait, why?
Preferable.
Why is it open for 6 seconds? You open it to take the water out. You close it.
Well, I don't care about that. This is more of just for some reason you're within a 10-second time, like someone's handing you things and they're like across the room. I don't care what the scenario is, but you open it for 2 and you're shutting for 2. You're opening for 2 and you're shutting for 2 for a total of 10 seconds. So you've started with the opening. So is my math right there? 6 seconds total. You've had this thing open. Versus the 10 seconds of consistent opening.
Okay.
So like my gut, your obvious gut would go 10 seconds is longer than 6, so you've lost more cool, or your overall temperature has gone up. But there's a little bit of movement, and so I'm just curious. I imagine the data could read differently depending on how swiftly you're opening or whatever. But like just a normal opening, I'm just curious, is there like a better rule of thumb, like, oh yeah, just leave it open and get everything out and in your 10 seconds instead of doing this silly opening and shutting, assuming it's not an energy on your end, like you don't mind the physical exertion, like that's not factoring into the decision making. You're just trying to keep it the coolest you can.
Right. Actually, I think it probably, from a practical standpoint, doesn't matter because the temperature of your food items inside the fridge, they're not going to lose their coolness in that brief time frame, regardless of whether you keep the door open or not. As long as you don't keep it open for minutes at a time, so that your refrigerator can't compensate, then like your food items aren't going to lose that much of their coolness. And as soon as you close the fridge, like it's going to go and come on again and start generating more cold air. And most of them they actually generate the cold air in the freezer and then have a vent that lets the air down into the fridge part.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so you don't actually have 2 separate temperature controllers. You have one, and it kind of opens the vents a certain amount and controls the flow of cold air from the freezer down to the fridge.
But still, overall, you're powering your refrigerator might have to crank up earlier.
That's
if
true.
It lost
Yeah.
more. But you're right that the food won't spoil or something in this negligible time period.
Right,
for sure.
And the power required to kick on, one more time is pretty negligible. So, like, if you're pouring water and you're trying to decide how to be ultra efficient, whether you should, leave the door open or close the door, like, I think you're right. If you were to zoom in, and I think there probably is a better way, but it's just that how much better is very small. So I could see that when you pull open the door, actually for a brief little amount of time, you're lowering the pressure inside the fridge because you're increasing the volume inside. And so when you open the door, it tries to suck a little bit of air in, but then that probably makes some kind of vortex that swirls some of the cold air out. And the whole time you have the door open, the cold air is, assuming it's warmer outside the fridge, then it's pouring out of the fridge into the outside. Warm air is going into the fridge, and then
I picture. Have you seen like war movies where the slow motion helicopter when there's like
yeah.
smoke and it does that swirl? Like I picture the swirls coming out of the fridge if you could somehow see it.
No,
Like,
it is. Yeah, it would be like that. You could
Yeah.
probably test this somewhat by getting some dry ice, or a smoke machine or whatever, and put it in your fridge and open and close the door and see where the smoke goes, and that'll give you a good idea of which is better.
I suspect this vortex though, like is not. I mean, obviously we're talking about small potatoes.
Yeah.
It's just insignificant. I get that. Small potatoes just made me laugh how dumb that is. But the idea.
Small tomatoes.
Small tomatoes. Small tomatoes.
Small tomato, small potato. That's what they say.
You say small potatoes. I say small tomatoes. That's anyway.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, no. The joke's so dead, and I was like,
Mosquito
okay.
Moscato.
The whole, I just do picture the swirl like sucking a lot out, and doing this 3 times in the 10 seconds being more significant. So my hypothesis is that you would lose more cold air in the 6 seconds having it open than you would, because of the repetition and the movement, than just having your refrigerator open for 10 seconds. And the reason that thought tickles me is just I like counterintuitive. Like if you were to frame the question, holding a refrigerator open just for 10 seconds or for 6 seconds, that's very clear. 10 seconds would release more cold air, or the overall temperature would go up. Now you say, but those 6 seconds are not in succession, and there's movement going on, that it possibly could change that. And I like that. I don't know. Just an interesting thought. Dumb thoughts. Dumb thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, like, I also think that if if someone is using your fridge and they just open it wide and leave it open for 10 seconds, then, you're more likely to go, what are you doing? Like, close the fridge. Like, even if it's less efficient than closing it multiple times, which I don't think it is then, just to me, I always think I should protect the cold air in my fridge. And so, I open and close the door, even when I'm like, getting multiple things out of the fridge or loading groceries into the fridge. I close the door every time, and then go to the bag, get the groceries, open the door, put the groceries in, close the door. I don't know, safeguard that cold air.
I'm the same way. I'm trained, I'm conditioned to just only open it when you're like retrieving or putting something in, and if there is no reason for that to be open. Just as, I don't survey and go I just don't open that thing. Like I really treat it sacredly in a way.
Yeah, I'm the same way with like the door to my apartment, or the door to a house or whatever. Like I just don't leave doors open. Doors are meant to be closed until you're going through them.
You have one of those closed door policies.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I have a closed door policy when it comes to doors.
You literally have a welcome mat that says go away.
It's so great.
It's not a welcome mat at all.
No, it's not. It says go away. And like actually, the few times I've had people come to my door, I've been astonished at the audacity of people that will knock on my door, stand on my go away doormat, and then like ask me to buy something or whatever. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, look at the doormat, man.
As they're standing on it, that is just it's got to. I just hope the irony doesn't escape them entirely, right? They're standing on this thing. Come on.
I'd like to think that it makes anyone who comes to my door just a little uncomfortable, a stranger, a little uncomfortable, and they're just not sure, like, should I bother this guy or just, put this thing, under his little door knocker so he'll see it later.
I'm trying to think how I would feel if I were tasked with this. This is my job or duty or religion's conviction or whatever. So I would come up to the door and I would see, and I would chuckle, and then I would think, how serious is he? And then I would wrestle with it a bit. And then if I just elected to go forward, I would feel exactly what you're talking about, just some discomfort about not knowing how serious. Like, It
And that's
feels
what I
like
aim
a
for.
joke.
That's what I aim for. It's just to make everyone a little uncomfortable. And then I can choose which way I want to go. Whether, depending on what they're doing, I can either choose to make them really uncomfortable or say, oh, that's just a joke. You don't have to go away.
Yeah, you have all your options available as long as they're on their keep them on their toes,
Yep.
or off your mat and on their toes.
That's right.
So I wanted to possibly introduce a new segment.
Oh, excellent. I love new segments.
Yes, I've had failures with this in the past as I try to, introduce like what are your thoughts on, and then you just totally throw me a curveball. So that could happen here. I don't know. My question, or
I liked what are your thoughts? You should
what are your thoughts on?
you should keep that one, and I like Bennett Tries Trending. We just need to find some new topics as well.
That's funny because I'm not. It would be better
trendy?
if I were trendy and you weren't.
But really,
I'm just
like,
not trendy and you're atrociously untrendy.
I know, but still, there's still a differential we can exploit. I think that you just like look at the trending anything and ask me about it, and I ain't gonna know anything about it.
No, that's true, and that's actually so. I'm kind of using the maybe disinterest or lack of knowledge in a particular field here. So what we're going to call this is, for at least the working title, is Bennett Fixes Sports.
Oh, yes. It's about time. This sports needs fixing. This is getting ridiculous. Have you seen sports? It's ridiculous.
That's why I'm glad. I was going to say I know your position on sports generally, and you've always maintained that they could use some fixing, so I thought I'd let you give your pitch about why indeed these traditional, these are like not just legendary, that's not the right word.
That's definitely not the right
culturally
word.
Ingrained.
Stale. Yeah, I know what you're
culturally
going for.
ingrained.
Stale,
they're fixed.
Boring, very just low tech. Is that what you're...
Well, we changed the nuance of for safety reasons, or maybe to create higher scoring or to either ensure equity in competition or something like that. But for the most part, the parameters, you're not gonna have like the end zone's the end zone, the goal is the goal, the ball is the ball, and there's regulation.
Use this size stick. Use this size stick. No. Use this kind of ball. No, this kind of ball. The ball was a little deflated.
Scandal, the ball was slightly deflated. No, so I think everyone, regardless of where you fall in your sports fandom, has to agree that holistically sports involve, there are some one person, or like golf is a little bit different, but for now, the two teams come together on a field or a court with some clearly defined parameters, and then there's a ball, often manipulated by the individual people, and one team's in possession trying to score in some way toward a basket or a zone, an area, and that's just that's generally how sports work. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, they try to say lots of things are sports, and I don't really have much of an opinion on it. People say that cheerleading is a sport, or NASCAR is a sport, or soccer is a sport. None of these things are sports.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
No, but the thing is, I really don't care about the definition of a sport, and actually, I've been hamming it up a little. I don't have any real antagonism for sports. I can appreciate a desire to display athleticism and to push your boundaries and achieve a high skill level. But most of my gripes with sports come from the fact that it is an entertainment industry. And in an entertainment industry, it's absurd that we're on, talk about sequelitis. Super Bowl is on, we're on, Super Bowl 50 or something,
Yeah.
This ridiculous. We don't even have 50 Avengers yet, although we're probably getting close.
We might. I don't know how many exist in the Marvel universe.
Probably,
if you
maybe
count each one.
They may be trying to take over the Super Bowl. Avengers Super Bowl.
But do you not find the beauty in sports, the fact that it's sort of this standard that goes across time, so that we know an athlete if an athlete breaks a record, that means something. They accomplished a similar. I mean, I guess they're competing against different individuals, so all of a sudden the variables are wildly different. But like, if they were able to say knock a ball out of a park or something, hit a home run essentially, like that's measurable. Like, and go, wow, that he did better than this other guy 35 years ago. I think that means something. Like, I don't know, that the fixed nature is the beauty, but that's kind of where you have your gripe, right? Like,
yeah, I just maybe I'm just not as taken by record breaking within sports as some people are. Like, to me, if I had to choose between having a really exciting year of a twist on a classic sport or a new sport and the same old sport, season 50 of football, and one guy just happens to like throw it further or score more touchdowns than some guy 45 years ago did. That's just not exciting. You hear the announcer or whatever go, "Oh, well, Tim Tebow just kicked the furthest field goal. This hasn't happened since 1972." And everyone is like, "Oh, wow." And then the next day you're like, "Did you see old T-Bone kick the thing, beat the record?" and people are like, and that's it. But if you have a new sport, or you change the sport in a special way, and you have a whole season of that, then every game is exciting because you can't wait to see what happens next in this new sport or new twist on the sport. I just think the comparison is not even close. So like the ability to have a fixed measuring stick to measure greatness or athleticism, fine, that's all right. You can still do some of that same old stuff, but when it comes to providing entertainment for millions and millions of people, change it up. Let's make it interesting.
Well, that's a perfect segue then. So I'm gonna throw you I don't know if it's a curveball, but like the idea.
Sports analogy, nice job. That's baseball. I know that one.
I'm going to choose a sport for you, but I'm going to choose one that I think already has some elements of differentiation, I suppose.
Okay.
Hockey is going to be our sport that you're going to fix, because I think, like they took a lot of traditional elements of sports and they put it on ice, and that is pretty good.
Yeah, so. Actually, I agree with that. Like when I compare it to other sports like soccer, hockey is way better because it's on ice. So it is kind of like a lamer version of me tried to fix like lacrosse or soccer or something and came up with hockey, and just like, hey, let's put them all on ice. So that's actually a good thing. Like hockey has some of my respect for that reason, but it also has some problems. Like, have you ever been to a hockey game?
Yes, I have.
I have too, actually. And it's pretty much impossible to see what is going on when you're watching a hockey game, because the puck is like 3 inches in diameter or something. It is difficult
to follow. I think even TV puts a trail behind it sometimes just to visibility issues. Yeah.
And they're hitting it super fast and shuffling it back and forth and whacking it all the way across the rink and everything. It's just too small. You can't tell what's going on. And if you're a player in the game, maybe that's thrilling and it requires skill and acuity and all of these things in order to be able to keep up, and that's fine. But if this is a entertainment sport, if this is a spectator sport, the audience needs to be able to tell what's going on. So hockey, that's no good. Also, another thing, that whatever respect they gain from doing it on ice, they completely lose by just having 2 stationary goals and a thing that they hit in them. Like, come on. When was hockey invented? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Well,
I'm going to look that up right now.
Surely it was invented after soccer and like football and stuff, right?
It says November 26, 1917, but that's NHL, which is a whole different thing, a ball game. That's weird. That's what
sports analogy.
Nice. We do speak in sports analogies so much. The first indoor hockey game was played on March 3rd, 1875.
Wow, that's way older than I expected.
Yeah, I wonder what that's.
How did they make the rink?
I mean, this is all from looking at Wikipedia.
They have like a horse-pulled Zamboni.
I would have to comb through this a little more than on the spot, but
well, it's
most
not
popular in Canada, I if that surprises.
That's-
Central
that
and Eastern
doesn't-
Europe.
that doesn't
Nordic
surprise me.
countries, Russia.
Yeah, the cold places. I mean, that's not surprising. Oh, I just realized our Michigan fans are gonna hate us or hate me. Hate. Sorry.
Speaking of which, just to get us started before you make those changes, you've identified some issues, but could
Yeah.
you maybe name 5 professional hockey players?
No.
Of any
All right.
ever.
Wayne
like,
Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky.
Yes. You taking a sip of water? Or what are you?
Sorry, my audio cut out. Wayne Gretzky, and who was the guy in the Mighty Ducks? Was it Mighty Duck? I don't know his name. Wayne Gretzky. I don't know any other hockey player.
Of all time.
Oh wait.
ever.
What's the trophy called that they all fight for? The Heisman? No, the what's it called?
I want you to get there.
The Hockey Cup. That's something.
Yes, you're
I've
there,
heard of
you're
it.
there.
I've heard of it.
You're there.
The Hockey Cup.
You're very. It's something cup.
The Heisman Cup. It's not Heisman.
Think of.
That's
I'll
the
give you a
football
clue.
one.
A character in The Office. His
The
first
Wayne
name.
Gretzky Cup.
No,
In The Office, the Stanley Cup. That's it.
Yes,
Stanley Cup.
yes,
Why did
it
I go
is.
to Stanley first?
So that was a joke. It wasn't a sincere answer, and then it
No,
became it.
yeah, I just picked a character from The Office.
Like
and
Meredith,
that's who I went with.
Meredith Cup. Yes,
Cup.
the Stanley Cup.
Excellent.
In all fairness, I'm no hockey fan myself.
Stanley.
I'm not
He's got
anti-hockey.
it. Stanley has to have been a hockey player, right? So Wayne Gretzky and Stanley.
Yeah, I'm sure Stanley was a dude.
I thought
don't know.
I thought Stanley was the Marvel guy.
That's Stan Lee. Yeah, that was good. I was actually going, no, that's Stan Lee. Wait, I just said that was funny. That was really funny. Yeah, no, I don't know a lot of hockey players, and I Googled for this famous hockey players,
See,
and
tell
Wayne
me-
Gretzky was the first.
Yeah.
Sid, and then the names escape me, which is probably hilarious to hockey fans, so I apologize. But
I
like
don't know.
Sidney Crosby,
Never heard of him. That's the
Mar-
rapist, the date rapist guy.
Gordie Howe or Howe. God, I'm probably even just like some of these names. Like, how would you pronounce Lemieux?
Lemieux.
Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr,
No. See, I haven't. No, I
Guy
haven't heard of
Lafleur.
these.
That sounds
I-
familiar. Guy
I-
Lafleur sounds like a philosopher. Art Ross.
No. Yeah, he's the guy with the like fro that paints friendly paintings.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, no. So yeah, I just don't know.
I don't
these
feel
names.
bad. I don't feel bad about not knowing 5 hockey players
Or 2.
or
Wayne
2.
Gretzky.
The hockey
Only because
might-
Wayne Gretzky presents 3D hockey on the N64.
Probably,
Like, that's my
you're probably right.
exposure.
I actually I used to play a hockey game on the Sega Genesis. I don't know what it was anymore, but I used to play it, and the most memorable thing is that they used to throw octopodes onto the ice. So
Wait,
that-
is that a thing is that a cultural phenomenon in hockey? I mean, I
I
know
think
the hat
so.
trick and you throw hats.
I don't know about that
What would
one.
you throw an octopus on the court for?
I don't know. 8 goals in a row. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. I don't know why it happened in the game, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And that's like the only thing I remember about hockey. I mean, when I went to one hockey game when I lived in Wisconsin and watched it, and like just couldn't see anything, and I was sitting like at the very top row, couldn't see anything, so I was just not impressed.
One funny, there was a local hockey team where we grew up. I think we're okay saying where we grew up in. We grew up in Macon, and so there was a local hockey team called the Whoopie, and
Oh, yeah,
they were the
Macon Whoopie.
The Macon Whoopie, and it became sort of. I mean, this is pre-internet era, but I know some of the jerseys, like antique or throwback jerseys, people still buy, and it's they did things like Macon Music was a local baseball team, Macon Knights, because if you are from Macon, you are a Maconite. That was a football, like what the XFL, not the XFL, but they did those arena football things. There's Macon Bacon, I believe.
Yeah, the baseball. That one's good.
That's
Making bacon.
is that the current one, Macon
Yeah.
Bacon?
Yeah, yeah.
And they have a rivalry with the Savannah Bananas, so
That's
I
great.
like that.
Yeah.
Savannah and yeah, but making
That's
whoopee is hard
that's
to top.
another gripe of mine with sports is that the team names are lame. And they
That's where the
should,
baseball gets to be playful in their
yeah,
lower divisions and
they should
stuff.
rhyme or be alliterative, and
We get too
or
stuck on like lions and
yeah,
just like these iconic symbol, like just giraffes,
yeah,
sports team names. No, but like we just choose these things like knights and we stick with it too much. I don't know.
yeah. They need to be better. Need to be better. Like some
So
teams just need to get it straight. Like the Volunteers. What kind of name is that?
yeah, the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm sure there's like historical stuff, but I mean, even you. Why do I think Volunteers sounds silly? And I think something like the Tar Heels. There's something charming about it.
I don't
So
know.
I guess we can't have it both ways though. We can't go. Oh, Lions is so silly, like dumb, but Tar Heel. Like I appreciate bizarre little names. So maybe the Vols are pretty cool. I don't know.
You should choose your team name based on how cool your mascot can be. Because like if you what is a Tar Heel? Like what does their mascot even look like? Just some guy that keeps looking at his foot.
Well, they do have a foot with some tar on it is one
Yeah.
of the things, but
That's one of
they
their
have that-
icons. But like if you have like the the dragons or the lions, then you can have a dude in a big old furry lion suit or something as your mascot down there, and that's good. That's a decent mascot. But if you're a Tar Heel, like what do you what do you do about that? Like you're not even gonna be able to pick him out. You're gonna have to look at the guy who whose foot is kind of stuck to the ground a little bit on every other step.
Well, that's why schools even will have 2 or 3 mascots. So they have like I think UNC has that ram looking thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to we're getting too in the weeds. We're so talking over our heads. Let's get back to fixing hockey. Fix some hockey,
All right,
Bennett.
all right. Let's do this.
So you identified the puck as too. It's not that it's too fast, because fast is fun, but it's too small, so the visibility. And then you said something about the fixed goals was an issue
right.
too.
So the first thing that I think we can do with hockey, well, because there are a handful of ice sports, hockey is probably the most popular one. So I think to just really have the best chance at pushing this into the mainstream, we can just combine all the ice sports. So we'll combine hockey, curling, ice skating, and bobsled.
Ooh, bobsledding. Okay.
We'll put them all together. So for hockey, first we'll make the rink 4 times as big because the rink is pretty small. The goals, rather than being fixed in place, they should be mobile. And like instead of having it just sit on, I think it sits on the ice, and you can. Actually, I don't know if it's. Can you knock them out of place?
They will go out of place, but they're gonna stop the play after that.
The way I think it should be is they should be each of the 4 corners of the goal should be posted on a curling stone, and you have a dedicated goal team with the little brushes that has to, they like at the start of the match they give it a push or something, and they have to like scrub the ice in front of the goal, and the goal is moving the whole time.
Wait, so who pushes where? So it's not on a track. It could go
Maybe,
anywhere.
Yeah, it can go anywhere on the court, and it's a strategic move to decide where should we position our goal. And these guys are just brushing to make it continually go. Maybe like 3 of the things are curling stones, and one of them is like a little thing that gives it some motion. Pushes it just a little bit.
A little
but
engine
they
that's
can
sort of,
steer it
yeah.
with the brushes.
Or maybe after a timed interval, you can give it a good shove, however you'd like. But so every minute or so, the little buzzer goes, and you could do that. So,
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Anyway,
Either way, like the idea is that you have mobile goals. I really like the idea of having mobile goals because it changes things up over the course of the inning or whatever hockey has. What does hockey have? Quarters.
It's periods, right?
Oh, I don't know. Periods?
I think it's three of them. Man, we don't know. I should have done more hockey homework.
Yeah, I really don't know much about hockey, but I know enough to fix it. So that's one thing. For bobsledding, all the edges of the rink, rather than like they're normally walls, but now they should be curved ice, like bobsled tracks. or like half pipes, and they should be extra high. That way you can hit the puck and it'll go whoosh on the side, and you can do like curved shots and stuff. Or the skaters can like skate up the side, and then for ice skating, you can like get extra points for doing tricks and stuff like triple lutzes and whatnot. And maybe some judges. I don't know. Ice skating is kind of lame anyway, so they'll just do some tricks, and maybe there's like a bonus point pool or something, and the more tricks you do, stuff goes into that point pool, and then when you score, you get some extra points based on how many tricks you've done, something like that.
Yeah, points are going to be difficult but you'd have to iron it out after a while. But
you'd have to iron it out. But from a high level, I think we can incorporate some tricks, or maybe like some music or something. What else? Ice skating doesn't. They have.
What about
judges,
something like snowboarding or skiing? Does this belong in here? Because you now have these ramped sides. People could kind of go up possibly, and I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
How many players do you envision on this court? Like, do you picture two teams now still like battling in good old classic? Like, you're not throwing everything out. Like, you're still gonna have score for two teams to come together and win, right? There's gonna be a winner declared.
I think hockey is okay to keep two teams. Maybe we can in future versions of this segment. I can try to think of ways to change that up a little bit for other sports. But I think for hockey, we're safe to keep two teams.
It sounds busy and fun and exciting. And
I'm not done. So, I still haven't addressed the puck. So I think that rather than being a 3-inch diameter little thing, it should be about the size of a frisbee, and covered with really bright lights like LEDs or something, so you can actually see it. And instead of being like a hard, solid puck, it's actually a robot, like a Roomba. And so, but it doesn't get a lot of purchase on the ice. It has a little purchase, so that if you were to smack it in a straight line and then the Roomba like kicked it into high gear, it could it could alter its course just a little bit.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the Roomba is controlled like by the audience. All the audience members have a simple joystick, and the direction that they push on the joystick, it sums up all of those inputs and feeds them to the puck. And so the audience has just a little bit of control to nudge the puck around as they're hitting it and everything.
I like this audience participation. That's a staple in comedy shows. Magic, democracy. Why are we cutting it off at sports?
Right. I think this makes it really exciting, because then you feel like you can do your part and try to help your team win, and you can push it in at just the right moment, and try to squeeze it into the goal or whatever. Yeah. One other thing. Here's another thing we could do. Because we have this giant field of ice and the goals are moving all around, so we could have each team can have a dedicated melter. That's like his position. You have a goalie and a forward and a melter. And the melter, there's this dedicated spot on the rink where there's buckets of hot water that are continually replenished, and you can skate over there and grab the bucket of hot water, and then go somewhere on the rink and throw the hot water and melt the ice in that spot, to make an obstacle. And so when the puck goes over it, it's gonna get messed
do all
up.
Sorts of things, yeah.
Or when people
skating.
skate, when people skate over it, they're gonna fall or have to dodge it. Or you could try to put it in front of your goal and get your goal team to scrape your goal over into that direction. But then, of course, you can't just continue having these spots on the ice. So both teams have a Zamboni as well.
Oh, okay. Obviously, yeah.
And they can fix the obstacles on the ice, or block the goal, so it gets real strategic.
Really strategic, really fast. What's so funny to me is one of the I would say the things that are holy to sports fans is the predictability.
That's lame. That's so lame, though.
And your suggestions are so wildly almost intentionally, to
because that's the worst thing about sports. The worst thing about sports is how boring it is. It's been the same.
To be clear, I don't mean predictability like we know the score is going to be, but we know even if there was a moving goal, like you maybe could get fans on board as long as it was moving in a consistent pace, and from this on a track from here to here at this pace, and we know, and so you can plan accordingly or strategize accordingly. But the unpredictable factors you're bringing in are like hilarious. They're so funny. Because
that's
they
what
fly in the
makes
face
it.
of that.
That's what makes it interesting. Like having the same. Actually, like I feel like the sports fans would kind of make an argument like you did earlier, where if we keep everything the same, then we have a measuring stick we can use to tell how good our players are, because we can keep our stats and we can know, he did better than Wayne Gretzky, so he must be really good. But I don't care about that. I actually think what makes a really good athlete is the ability to act on the spot, on the fly, and use your senses to determine in the moment how to win for your team. And I think having a little bit of unpredictability, moving goals, that makes it better. Like, there's already some amount of unpredictability in sports. Like in hockey, like the puck is moving fast and can bounce wildly. If it hits the goalie's glove or his knee or the pole or whatever, then it takes a second to figure out what's actually going on. That's unpredictability. Sports fans don't have a problem with that. Right. So they need to just get over it and accept what I call the new name of hockey, Robopucky.
Oh yeah, I could imagine it selling so well, Robopucky.
I would be a big fan.
Crazy.
Robopucky. It makes sense.
It rolls right off the tongue too.
The puck as a robot, it still keeps a little tradition. Pucky sounds like hockey. Yeah. So that should appease all of the traditional hockey fans. The Michigan folks, they're going to be like, you know what? It's all right. It sounds the same, kind of. Robopucky, we're on board.
Do you imagine your athletes? I mean, I imagine as we continue this segment, you develop other, like, it measures the adaptability, as you say, right? Like your ability to say, to move with whatever is being presented to you. So weirdly enough, in these professional level sports, like, you might have an athlete play several different sports because their just overall athleticism is their ability to adapt. So it's not. I mean, hockey's a little different because there's a skill set in being able to manipulate an ice skates or just be on the ice. But outside of that, I don't know. I can just imagine you're just utilizing what I would call like a general athleticism, and applicable to a lot of different sports, possibly. I don't know. Just
think about the ways that you could excel in Robopucky. Like, you could be like really good hockey players could just jump right in and be really good at Robopucky because of their ability to skate and their ability to manipulate, the hockey stick, and even a goalie could, jump right into Robopucky and be relatively successful. But now you have additional avenues for excellence because your Zamboni driver, he doesn't have to be a good skater. He doesn't have to be good with the stick. He just has to be a good Zamboni driver and have the wherewithal to look at the rink and see the positions of the players and the goal and know where to position his Zamboni. He has to have a good eye for those water bucket
he could even be
obstacles.
A chubby dude. Like, he doesn't even have to. He has to just have finesse more than.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be in shape or fast or anything.
He has to just have
see
eagle
the
eyes.
Picture. Yes,
eagle eyes and a quick head and a good steering wheel hand and like. And like he can just Zamboni on over and smooth out those those obstacles in the ice. And like your curling guys, those guys have gotten a bad rap forever. Like, no one respects curling guys.
And they don't?
No, they don't. Do you?
Could you name 5 professional curlers?
Yeah. Of course.
Jeremy
Jenkins.
One of the
Sam Martins. He's a good one.
Sam Martins. Yeah, one of my favorite.
Nicholas Skafferson. I don't know. He's like Swedish or something. I don't know how to say his name.
I have his jersey. I just don't know how to say his name.
It's a curling jersey. Yeah, I have a Stefan Skafferson broom. It's just a novelty item. It's not really. You can't use it on the ice. You have to use it for sweeping up dust. But it's still like branded, so it's pretty cool.
That's funny.
But yeah, like those guys, they would have their shot at fame. Like, they would kind of be like the the unsung heroes, even in Robopucky, because if they suck, then your goal is stationary, and the audience is going to be able to steer the puck right into that goal, and you're gonna lose. But if you have really good the curling guys, then they'll be able to steer the goal away.
It's like
And
true
if you
fans
have
loving defense, right? If you talk to true fans of a sport, they love a defensive battle, and a lot of people, oh, that game is slow. But people that understand the nuances, and that's where your curling athletes would
Yeah,
would
you could
shine.
even imagine strategic situations in which the curling guys maneuver the goal in such a way as it stays, the Zamboni stays between the goal and the puck to try to keep it from going in.
Yeah. Oh man, Robopucky. I'm sold.
Good.
I want to watch a game.
Good. Well, see, that's another gripe of mine is that sports are. We've had these What's the last new sport that that was on TV or that was famous?
The last new sport.
Yeah, a new sport. When's the last time you saw a new sport?
Oh God, no! I mean, I know they're like trying to make arena football come back, but I have a feeling you're not talking about that at all. Like
Yeah,
just
right?
iterations
We've
of the
just
same
had
thing.
like we've had, we're on Avengers 8 or 9 or something. Like there are kids who weren't born when the first Avengers was around. We weren't around for the last new sport. Like we've had hockey since like 1817. You said baseball's been around forever. Basketball's been around forever. Football's been around forever. Golf has been around forever. All these things have been around forever, and like they're products of their time. They're people with a stick and a ball and some feet, and like that's what they are. But we live. It's current year, for heaven's sake. It's current year. We can introduce technology into the game, and that's where Robopucky comes in. Like we have this LED covered Roomba on ice. Who's not going to be on board with that?
All the joking aside, like it is a curious question. Like, so why we is there space for a new development of a new sport or
Space.
improvement?
I like
of
where
it?
you're going with this.
Is there a third space for that?
Space
No, I mean,
sports.
I just don't know. I don't know. I like the idea, and so it's a titillating thought. So I will be happy to revisit this with some sports in the future.
Good. I've thought about this a lot over the years, so I can fix just about
I could tell you
any
had
sport.
you had given this some thought. It wasn't just completely off the cuff.
No. Good old sports.
No sports.
Did you ever have to play sports as a kid?
I played basketball, and it was a big part of who I was. I loved basketball, and now I don't play at all. I don't play for fun. I haven't touched a basketball in 10 years, and I'm sure if I did, it would there'd be a sadness there. There could be a foreign object in my hand, something that was previously so familiar to me. That's what I mean. I loved it. It was part of who I was. I played in high school. I played, varsity basketball. But my senior year, I decided not to play because I wasn't going to play college. I wasn't starting, and it brought me some anxiety. Like I cared deeply about it, but wasn't. I didn't know what to do with that energy, and so I don't know. Once I quit, I would always say like, "Hey, I'm Daniel and I play basketball." Well, that's not how I'd introduce myself, but it was one of my like. It was a core piece of my identity. Like seriously, when you're in high school, like what do you say? Like, who you hang out with and what sport or activity you play is sort of your go-to to connect with people. So when I didn't play basketball, like I was kind of in this position for a while of saying, well, I'm Daniel and I used to play basketball. And so it was a big gap for me. I wrestled existentially through that. So sports offered me that, first of all, the camaraderie, and there's a lot obviously about a team working toward a common goal and all of that. And then also for me, it was an introduction of going, all right, well, I'm no longer going to identify as a basketball player. So what is the healthiest means to sort of search for identity? Because I think when you're in high school and college, that's when you're doing those things. And so I was lazily leaning on, I am a basketball player, and I didn't stop to think, what does that mean? So, yeah, I played sports.
Yeah, I do agree with you that playing sports is good for learning teamwork ability. And I do also think that it's important, especially for kids, to really suck at something and have to get better. So
Yeah.
for I'm not completely cynical about sports, but when it comes to entertainment, as an entertainment industry, like, we're paying these guys millions of dollars. Like, they should be working with robots and stuff, at least.
So it's not
at the
really
very
the
least.
athletes. It's not the athletes. It's the collective imagination that you take issue with, because like they're just doing what they're doing. Like, people want to see it, and so. But you're kind of scratching your head, going, "Why do they?" Of all the things we
why
could
do they want to
ask,
see this?
if we want to, because we do, like, think about NFL players are like the freaks of the world in terms of like they are muscly and fast, and they're crazy. They're the finest human specimens physically.
Yeah,
and
you can tackle someone in half. I saw it on TV one time.
So they really can do these extraordinary feats, and so we just ask them to. The frustration for you is that they're putting all their energy focusing into this sort of
Throw a ball.
Yeah, organized kill the man with the ball or tackle
Throw
the man.
the ball.
When
hey,
there could,
hey, you just pinnacle of human physical excellence. Throw this ball.
like, yeah,
run
let's see
over
some,
here.
I'd like to see them fold in some. Why not fold in some intellectual puzzle solving things that we can, as an audience, when you talk about audience participation.
Have you ever heard of what's the name for it? It's like chess boxing or something like that.
No, are you being serious?
Or boxing chess. It's just a combination of boxing and chess. And what you have to do is you play like a move or a couple moves of chess, and then you go to a boxing ring and you you punch each other, and then you have to go play another move, and it's just a combination of boxing and chess.
You're joking though, right?
No, I'm not joking. That's a real thing.
I've never heard of this. That's so like a minute or two, you just waylay on each other, and then you go back.
Yeah.
So you get an advantage if you're beating them in the head. They're a little out of it, and they don't make great decisions anymore.
Yeah.
That's kind of dark. Like, I have an advantage because I hit you so many times you can't
Your
think
brain
well.
doesn't work. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not laughing at this. Is so funny. It's really strange.
Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. Like, I like that they went for something. I like that.
Yeah, me
but
too.
Actually, the implementation, I think, is a little lacking. I would rather have. I don't know. We can get to boxing.
It just sounds like
day.
boxing is shoehorned into, like, all right, we're gonna play chess and just hit each other a little bit in between. So it's a step towards something, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's pretty not intertwined smoothly. It's not.
It would be
working.
better. Well, I won't fix boxing. I won't fix boxing.
Yeah,
this
don't
time.
do that yet.
I'll fix
Yeah.
boxing another time. Sorry, it jumps into my head. It's like, oh, here's how we do it.
Let me fix this thing.
Yeah. Water. Did you open your fridge?
I did not. I was hoping that water would cue you to go, oh, transition time. I'm sure you have something up your sleeve.
Nope.
Oh, well, cool.
No, I'm just kidding. I would like to do another segment, since you had a new segment. We'll just have this be segments, a bunch of segments.
New segment.
So
day.
let's. It's not new though. It's another Mind Your Morals.
Yay! I like that one. I think we've only done one.
Yeah, we've only done one, so I think that we can see how this one goes, and this will kind of determine the future of Mind Your Morals. I think I've got a decent list prepared.
Okay.
So why don't we start off with, kind of the original conceptualization is that we could have mild, medium, or spicy situations, kind of arbitrarily labeled by me, that are moral quandaries or just moral situations or hypotheticals, and you just think about them and reason through them. Really no pressure to go either way. Kind of the classic Mind Your Morals might be the classic trolley question. If a trolley's going towards 5 people and there's one person on the other track, do you pull the lever to swap it to the other track or whatever? That's like the classic. So it's kind of in those veins. So
I am ready.
So let's see here. We're gonna do a medium one this time to start off. So here it is. A special art gallery has come to your town, and it's prominently displaying the world's greatest piece of art, whatever that is. One evening, after the gallery's closed, you're walking your dog. You have a dog.
Okay.
When you see a lone man with a gas can kick down the front door of the gallery, he starts spreading gas everywhere, and he lights it on fire. And your dog is like barking, and he pulls away from your grip, and he goes running into the gallery, which is just starting to catch on fire.
Yeah.
Starting to burn really brightly. The fire spreading rapidly. The doors start to become enwreathed in flame. There's probably enough time for you to run in real quick and save either the dog, your dog, the arsonist, or the world's greatest piece of art.
Oh, man.
So which one? You can't save more than one. There's not enough time. You'll get burned up. Or I guess you could also sacrifice yourself or do nothing. But what do you do? What do you choose?
I like this question because I'm not sympathetic toward the arsonist anyway. The dog you have a personal relationship with, and then the art kind of affects the most people. But in terms of how does that translate to value? Because we're talking about a human life, an animal life, and then the best and most cherished piece of art in the world. Man, okay, so my knee jerk is to save the arsonist, because I have to treat. There's a lot of ambivalence with this question, or actually within me. Like, I was actually just thinking about the word ambivalence, and we need to be okay with sort of internal conflict. And my value system, frankly, I get bothered when people say, oh, I'd save my pet dog over this stranger or something. And the position you're presenting is this arsonist is a stranger who has done something kind of crappy. And kind of crappy is not eternal damnation worthy, right? Like, they just did this thing I don't like, but I don't know, maybe they have a political conviction, or some sort of sincerely held conviction that I do not have to agree with, but like they might be exercising their morals to destroy this piece. And I'm not saying that's okay, but I'm just saying they're not some epitome of evil that I need to rid the world of. So I'm not wrestling with how good or bad they are. I just do not have enough information in this scenario. So my value, I'm just gonna value human life over art or a dog. And so that's my knee jerk. And even as I think it through, I'm becoming more firm in that position. I think it's a really good question though, because I can see someone dismissing the human life because they have damned themselves. They've done something that makes them not worthy of saving, in addition to the personal relationship with the dog. And then let's just say you were to dismiss the human, which I think is a stretch because that's who I'm saving. But let's just say we were. Then you're in a position of art or a pet. And I don't even want to get into that decision making because I sound like a terrible person if I say save the art for the entire world. It's the most precious thing that will.
Well, the whole premise of the question is that, almost certainly there are people who would choose, any of these three.
Yes.
So you don't have to be worried about sounding like a terrible person, because there are going to be a lot of people who would agree with
terrible
you.
or agree with me in either.
There are already people who think you're terrible. I guarantee you, there are way more people that already now think you're a terrible person for letting your dog be incinerated alive.
Yeah, I stand by
it. And saving this evil arsonist. There are people now who hate you. Michigan people hate me now. Everyone else hates you now. So we've done wonders for our popularity on this podcast.
I have to have, when I'm composing my moral compass, that like I value humans and I value dogs or animal life, and I know we're an animal, I get that, but the sophistication and the complexity is incomparable, and I'm not going to get into the weeds about that. But I've chosen. I value human beings above animals. It's like a hard line that I will draw and I will adhere to. And so, now if you were to get into if this was an evil murderer, mass murderer, I mean, in some ways you've violated your human, like you've violated humanity to the degree that I could get into an argument about like, well, you've lost your human card. That's a whole nother discussion, though. Like
sure. You don't know that in this
right.
situation.
In this situation, they were lighting something on fire, and actually, I tend to think they had some reason or conviction that, although I might not agree with, I can wrap my head around feeling passionately or even morally about like someone has done some terrible thing and I can't let that stand. So maybe someone or they were brainwashed or whatever. But whatever it is, they're not worthless or detrimental inherently to society because of that. So they just haven't done enough wrong. And so I'm saving the human, man.
So can
yeah.
you let's have so I like that you presented your personal take on what you think is the moral option, but can you kind of try to step outside yourself and morally rationalize all three of you've already done
Yes.
saving the arsonist.
And that's why I adhere to
Adequately.
it, because I do believe that human life, not only is it my opinion, it's like I believe it's the morally right thing to do is to put like the human being above an object or an animal. I just that there. So if I were to, yeah, you're saying to try and justify the other ones. So
Yeah.
I don't think we should underestimate the value of relationships with animals. I will say that sometimes I think we project those relationships and we inflate them. But that aside, the relationship is still very meaningful and very real between like pet and human. And so if the person who the arsonist, they caused this situation. It's their pit. They dug the bed. They should take a dirt nap in it. You know.
Yeah.
So no, but they caused this and they were doing something bad. Like that's the cards they were dealt. So if I were to justify it that way, and then I would say I think we should honor life over inanimate objects. And so once you've so and we should also in our hierarchy we cannot step beyond ourselves. So we value our intimate and personal relationships over strangers. So you've got the stranger who did something bad, and then you could argue loosely that they deserve what they've caused it. So it is justice, right? Like they did this thing, and then now this thing is happening because of what they did. It's balanced in that, so you don't have to wrestle that way. And art, despite its greatness, is an object and presumably has pictures and won't be forever forgotten just because it burned. In fact, it might even get more famous because of this story around it. And then you have the animal, the pet, the personal relationship. So I could get behind making that decision.
Okay.
And then the artwork is about, I would still take the relationship angle and say, all right, we can call an object just an object as a means of belittling it, but I think it's not, it's people have relationships with things, like we do interact with them, and we have personal like the greater the piece of art, the more it evokes something and challenges or confronts or expands people's minds. Like art can be a beautiful and amazing thing, and the thing about art is, we can get in debates about what makes art good, but if it's affecting lots and lots of people, that says
Well,
that
this is the best. This is just the greatest piece of art.
Right.
So
And
it's like a David piece,
a Davidian piece.
a Davidian piece. Yeah.
And it just blows everyone's mind. So we're not even debating that. It just is the greatest thing. And so the fact that it's going to make a long-term historical impact on humanity, I mean, really, the human life is just a blip on the radar, and the dog is a blip on the radar, and you are a blip on the radar, but this art is transcendent. And so for the greater good, we should make the decision to save the art.
Okay. Yeah, I think you I think you were able to step outside yourself well enough to rationalize all of those.
I appreciate that. But like I when we take in, that's when I start adding in the other factors. Like we probably have a picture of this piece of art, and I know that that's just a replica, and I know seeing the real thing can be almost a spiritual experience for people. You hear people go into these, whether it's these famous chapels or these famous places, and seeing these things, but like that's part of what the human is bringing to the piece. They are. It's the travel, it's the reading about it when you're a kid, it's the getting there. It's like it's not that the actual oil or paintbrush strokes or the canvas or the stone or whatever, or the marble. I don't think that that's like some evoking. It's not some supernatural thing. It's more about the people treating something as holy, and then they have a response that fits with that, you know.
Right.
So like
beauty is in the apples of the beholder. Beauty is in the apple of your eyes. Something like that.
Beauty doesn't fall far from the beholder.
Beauty tree.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, beautiful.
So yeah, but it's challenging because I'm not satisfied saving the dude, because I'm like, come on, my dog died because of you.
You'll save him, but you feel bad about it.
Yeah, I would. I would say I would do it, and I'd be pissed. My dog died, so I have a personal loss and greater humanity loss, and you're just a jackass. Like, so part of me does go like, screw you.
So can you now try to rationalize all? Imagine that someone else chooses each of these three things, and you now rationalize why they're a terrible person for making
each of the three choices wrong.
Yeah.
All right, I will save mine for the human for last, because that's going to be the most difficult. So choosing the piece of art, like the idea of like, what does it mean to be a person or a living thing, is to be connected and to understand. And you are choosing an object, a literal object created by someone else. Like, yes, I acknowledge it's the greatest piece of art, but it is out there now. Like, it's represented in dozens or hundreds or thousands or millions of videos and pictures and this sort of thing. Like, it's out there. It was only ever going to be physically seen by a limited number of people anyway. And so you're valuing an object over two forms of life, a human and a pet. Like, so two pretty on the hierarchy of life, because, you know, there's cockroach or even like a leaf or a tree or a small plant or something, or a single-celled organism. We could say, life is not all life is particularly meaningful, but these are two higher forms of life, no doubt.
But the art doesn't even rank.
So it's not alive. It just doesn't have that inherent value associated with it. So you're kind of disgusting for choosing an object over two lives. Like, we got to keep in mind, it's like, no matter where you find yourself on the animal and human debate. Again, I want to be clear. I understand we are animals, but I'm making a distinction for clarity. So. And because I believe there's a giant distinction. But wherever you fall in that debate, if you don't think that's a giant distinction, you're still choosing two lives to perish in the name of an object. And that's just, there's something gross about that.
So what about the person who saves their dog? Why are they a terrible person?
I think that they're selfish. I mean, they're choosing... of course, there's the pain of that dog, that animal, so... There's that, but they're choosing it because of their projected relationship onto that pet, and they care more about that than a human life and the greatest creation of all time. I mean, I can't think of a more selfish decision, and like, selfishness disgusts me. It's one of them, like, to me, misery and selfishness are close bedmates, you know? Like, you are a miserable person, you selfish jerk.
What about this? You're giving this person a really hard time, so I'm gonna speak up in their defense.
Okay.
Just for the sake.
I'm just
of
trying to be
playing.
funny to say that everyone's a jerk.
Just for playing doubles advocate, I'll play your double here.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So you call him selfish, but this is just an innocent bystander walking their dog, and you know, this dude set this place on fire. They're not an art fan. Like, you know, it may be the greatest piece of art, but whatever. It's just art. They don't care about that. They don't care about the guy. They don't care about the building, but they care about their dog. Yeah, that may be selfish, but they're the one who has been attacked, so to speak, in this situation. Like, they have the duty to right the situation from their own perspective, so they're going to save their dog rather than these other third-party pieces in this story that is their life on the third rock from the sun.
Okay, you are right that they have. I'm not going to argue whether they have a right, because in this scenario, the right to choose is like the question. So yeah, they have
That's
the right.
Yeah.
But even in your framing of the question, the most favorable way, I think you know how, you're saying they don't care about art, they don't care about this stranger, they don't care about, and so you're making my case about selfishness. What you're doing when you say they don't care about art, they're not stepping out. But what about those who do? They don't care about this stranger. But what about those who do? Like so by narrowing and dismissing is the selfishness.
So I agree with you. I'm trying to.
But
So what about this? What about the idea that everyone has a responsibility to take care of themselves, and if everyone takes care of themselves, everyone is cared for. So the person, you walking your dog, you care for yourself, and your dog is your responsibility. The arsonist has a responsibility to care for himself. He's not doing it. He's lighting himself on fire. So that's, he's getting his just desserts. The artist is probably long dead, but the people that cherish the art, whoever owns the art right now, they didn't live up to their duty. They don't have it guarded or fireproofed or whatever. You can argue that's silly. It is, but it's not your responsibility to safeguard the art. Your responsibility is to yourself and to your dog. And so you're just living up to that responsibility.
Okay. I mean, it's sort of a libertarian argument of like, self.
It is definitely
the person, and I can sympathize with that. I just find that, in some ways, you're just repackaging selfishness, because regardless of how you exist, it like you are interacting in society in this situation. You're out for a walk with your dog, and like things could happen. Like you could make everything you just said could apply. Like what if there's just some person who's fallen and broken their leg, and be like, that kind of sucks for you. Like, no, you don't have an obligation to that person in terms of you've defined your parameters as my obligations to my dog and to myself and my family and my friends. Like that's it. But like I just think that there's a moral obligation that extends beyond that when you're interacting in society. So if someone's there like on the road and you can see a car coming and you could save them, if you do not, then you're failing morally. And so I find that this situation, though unfair, I'm not saying it's a fair situation, it's been thrust upon you. It's a situation you're dealing with. So you cannot just, what you're trying to do is say, oh, I'm not acknowledging this situation was thrust upon me. I'm only going to adhere to my duties despite circumstances. But unfortunately, this scenario has thrust upon unfair circumstances, and that just should be factored into. It's foolish, in fact, not to adapt to the newfound circumstances. Does that make sense? So like,
yeah, no, I think that's a strong argument.
So yeah, I just I can't get there, and in fact, as I talk this through, sorry dog lovers and pet lovers, because I love dogs and pets, and oh man, they have my heart, but I just think it's the weakest choice. No, I don't know. Maybe the art's the one. I don't know, but definitely choose the human to save. So this is where it'll push me, like to make the. I want to make the person.
So you chose that your personal choice would be to save the arsonist, but why? What's the rationale behind someone thinking you're a terrible person?
Yes,
for doing that?
I want to make that choice disgusting. So I'm gonna try my best. Well, first of all, human life is in animal life. I have to kind of go back and say, look, plants, like all life exists, and why do we have this arbitrary hierarchy?
Human privilege.
Yeah, it's just a sack of like chemicals and maybe fairly complex, but why are we inherently valuing complexity? Why is that something we attribute? Not to mention this guy, like in this circumstance, he created a situation for himself. Like there is inherent risk in the things we do, and some things are more risky than others. And he played with fire and he got burnt, man. And so like he really like it. There is something just about like an arsonist like getting burnt, right? Like that phrase exists for that reason. Like if you do stupid things will happen to you. And so it is not. I can't go out there and light stuff on fire and maybe get lit myself and then be mad at some stranger for not. I can't expect them to take on my risky behavior. Like that is so. If I apply that to him, like he does it. there is balance in the universe. Like some screwball did something screwy and something screwy happened to him, and like that is like Darwinian. That is, it's fine. Like this guy, it played out just the way it should, and so he just, it's to, in fact, you could say this is a stretch, I think, but it is immoral to get involved, and like if this screwball needs to go, like there's this cosmic energy saying, no man, it's time for you to go, and so for me to interfere with that, it's just not in the cards. Just let it play its out.
Wild argument. I like that you went there.
Yeah, but like I think I have to go into some uncomfortable places to justify it, so maybe I'm not giving it its due diligence, but yeah, just to say he deserved it, essentially. Like that's a roundabout way of saying he deserved it, and there's a fate component of like it was supposed to happen, and then that frees me up to make whatever decision I want with the dog or the piece of art, and not feel so for me, when it comes to not choosing the human life, you really do have to, I think, jump through some hoops or justify away you have to really demean the human to not matter that much before you can address which one to choose. That's the challenge. That's why that's why I feel pretty strongly you got to save the human.
Yeah, I definitely think. Yeah, I think you're definitely right in your assessment. And when you say that, it's actually striking to me how easy it is for us today to dehumanize, or to really jump through hoops and rationalize away someone's humanity to cast moral judgment, even in situations other than this highly contrived and extreme scenario.
Yeah, and that's, we dehumanize humans, and then we'll humanize like a dog instantly, and that's all. Like, this is a pretty common, I don't know if the word's trope, but it seems like people say this regularly, like, oh, like if I see a dog die in a movie, like you've gone too far, like that I have to look away, I can't take it. And then it's like, well, what about this horror movie or war movie or whatever, when the body count's really high? Like, oh, I mean, it doesn't bother me watching people die, but don't kill a dog. It's like, that actually, I first of all, I get that we're desensitized, and movies do this all the time, the violence on humans. We've been, and we know it's a movie. So if you're saying that within the confines of a movie, I can be sort of okay, but I think it's a dangerous thing to say.
What about this idea? The people who have that opinion, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they tend to be younger. Or when I say younger, I mean 30s or whatever, like the
millennial-ish.
Yeah. Chances are they may have seen a pet die and have a personal relationship with seeing a pet die, but they haven't seen much human death. And so seeing humans die on screen is more abstract to them. They don't have a personal relationship with that. But if they see a dog die on screen, that reminds them of an experience they've actually had.
That's a fairly comforting idea, because what I was worried about, look, if it's a young people thing, and we're reasonably young, so we hear young people thoughts more, and they just, like, oh, poor dog. There's something so innocent about a dog, and even when dogs do terrible things, we just kind of go, well, they're animals, they're wild animals. Yeah, we've domesticated them, but there's something primal, and like, so it's not the dog's fault. So, and a dog can do no wrong in that capacity, right? That framework where when they do bite the human or do the terrible thing, like that's their prime.
Human trained them poorly.
Yeah, or it's just some primal thing, and we can't really fault the dog, or it's the human error. And when they are good and innocent and cute and all, they're adorable factors.
He loves me.
It is. They're adorable factors off the charts, and so I understand why the just factor. It just seems so unjust for to kill a dog or something. Whereas humans, we can kind of go rationalize and say, well, they deserved it or they were evil, because no one talks about the evil dog, but they will say the evil human. And so that sort of makes, and so combined with what your theory about like exposure and life experience, that makes me feel more comfortable. What I'm more concerned with is if it's a true value shift, like a cultural value shift, in which we might start, devaluing humans and valuing animals. I think we're so far from that. I'm way more comfortable saying that I think this is just sort of a young person phenomenon and some speaking from naivety, and like it's just almost a talking point, and it's almost like they know they're playing with fire when they say it, like, oh, don't kill a dog in a movie but kill plenty of humans, that's fine. They know they're being a little funny. It's a little funny and cutesy to say. It's a little edgy. So I don't believe they feel that way for real. So
I guess I buy that. I kind of have the same discomfort with the thought that you do, and in my more cynical moments, I think I have that same worry. But really, are there really that many people out there who who value the dog life so much more than the human life?
I think it's a talking point more than the real thing.
It's just a chance to be a hipster.
Yeah,
I truly think that so many social developments are due to pure and simple hipsterdom. It's just, oh, this is popular? Well, I'm going to do the different thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think so much of it is that spitefulness.
And it might not even be spite. It can be an intellectual exercise. Oh, everyone's going on this train of thought. I'll take another route. And, like, that's a curiosity. Like, oh, you've caused me to pause. I've heard you say something that's counter to what I'm hearing frequently. And that makes me... First of all, I'm going to listen to you more because it's different and it surprises me, and so I have to reconfigure and stop and think about it. So you all of a sudden gain traction in the marketplace of ideas because your idea is standing out. So that's attractive to hold a position that's not popular. And then all the edgy stuff too. And then I mean, maybe it was just a thought experiment. Like, oh, well, consider someone who says this is a lot different than holding that with true conviction. So.
All right. Do you want to do one more?
I do.
All right. This one's a little detailed, so listen up. All right. There is a complex but common and necessary engine part. It's used in virtually every car. Its complexity means that only specialized factories can manufacture it, and it turns out that basically every car company purchased this specialized part from a single company in China, and they've done so for the last 30 years. One day, it's discovered that this part is fundamentally flawed in such a way that if it fails, the engine will experience problems that vary from a mild shudder to a gigantic fatal explosion that will just blow everything up within like 5 meters. Newer engines seem to experience this failure more often. So the newer your car is, the more likely it is to fail more severely. About 10% of cars made after 2010 will explode.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Of cars made before 2010, only cars that have been in previous accidents seem to have elevated failure rates, and even that's about 1%. So it's relatively low. For reference, the average age of cars in the United States is about 11 years.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then one other key fact is once the part fails, the failure method won't change. So if it fails and you get the mild shudder, you never have to worry about it blowing up. If it fails and it blows up, then, well, it blows up.
And you said this piece is reasonably inexpensive, or does that not matter?
It's...
I don't know if you said that earlier.
It doesn't matter. It's complex, so it's not cheap.
Okay.
But it's in just about every car.
Right,
only specialized factories can make it, and everyone has bought it from China for the last 30 years.
Gotcha.
So we don't have the capacity to manufacture this part immediately. So that's the situation. There's a lot of details in there, I know. So do you have a grasp of that situation?
If you have a car 2010 or older, there's a 10% chance of it.
2010 or newer.
I meant that 2010 or newer. So basically, the vehicle I drive now, and it has a 10% chance of of exploding, or was it?
Yeah, 10% chance of exploding. If it's newer than 2010, then if this part fails, 10% chance it blows up really big.
And how often are they failing?
So it's just a part. So 10% of cars newer than 2010 fail, and cars older than 2010, about 1% fail blowing up. But they can, if they fail and have the shutter, then maybe you might not even notice. So
Okay, gotcha.
it's
All
unclear
right.
how many
All
cars
right,
are
I'm following.
failing.
Yeah.
So the question is, what should be done about this situation?
Oh man. What? And are you asking from a position of like if I'm the president?
So let's examine both on the societal level, like what should the government do, what should society do, and let's also take a peek into what should you do personally,
Right.
because it's
That's where I would
interesting
go
as well.
because if there's a 10% chance my car explodes, I'm not going to do anything that's a 10% chance of death over a period of time. So I'm not driving all of a sudden. I'm probably or if it's 1% for older cars, it's a little more tempting to get an older car. But it's pretty dang old because it's right at 11. You said 11 years was the. So my temptation, though, I'm just gonna say is to my knee jerks to like, well, get off the road first of all until this is because you said how the explosion is severe enough that it destroys
Yeah,
things
it
within a.
destroys stuff within 5 meters. So
Right, so it's
there
happening on
could
the
be collateral
car.
damage.
Yes. So I'm personally making the decision that is a very high risk factor, and I'm getting off the road. And I currently exist in I'm close enough to my work. If we were at work to travel to work and that work for me. I said work a lot to get there though. I can make it sustainable. Lucky me kind of thing.
Right. What about so you presumably would walk to work, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but that's so not like there's a whole network of like, all right, do we rethink as a nation? I mean, New York's one of the few that travel actually works on in the what's the word I'm looking for? Just
Pedestrian
yeah, I mean, without
or
a car, not
public
having a car,
transit?
public transit. That's what I was looking for. So public transit is, I mean, when we traveled to Japan, I became aware, and even in Europe, the public transit systems are just people rely on it a lot more. So therefore, it's used a lot more, and it works a lot better. And New York has something resembling that, but like Tampa, Florida, doesn't have anything sustainable to offer. If it would take me probably 2 hours to get to work if I wanted to take a bus, if I wanted to wait for some route, and like just not sustainable. So it causes questions about that. But that's a little less interesting and in the weeds than like, all right, do we go after China and say what is going on? Like, is this war worthy? Is this, to what degree do you put political pressure and say this is unacceptable? You need to, and then the question becomes like, what you need to, like make them better. You need to share your secrets. You must share your like insist on like we need to be able to make this peace too, or allow us to work together, or what sort of treaty or what contractual agreement can we come to say like this has to be safe.
So, so in this situation, there's all of these parts came from just one factory in China. It's not exactly a realistic situation. So even if they fix their, whatever this flaw is, they're just not going to be able to produce enough of this part to repair the millions of cars that that are affected. Now, if we know what the flaw is, then we might be able to spin up our own factories and stuff, but that would take a year and a half or something to get all that stuff going.
Well, yeah, I mean, like in a perfect scenario, it's like you say, everyone get off the roads. Our public transit system's gonna really step it into high gear as we negotiate with China.
Well, when you say public transit system, what are you talking about?
Just buses and subways.
Buses have engines.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking about that because I was just thinking that was dumb of me, but I was thinking in a personal way. And so do
Yeah, you can't use buses.
Even subways and stuff. We're gonna say have that.
If they're electric, then they'll probably work.
Okay.
Electric engines, and they'll probably
And
work.
some of these buses are trying electric stuff. But again, in an ideal situation, it very low resolution terms, big picture, would just to say, yeah, we're stepping up our public transit game while we negotiate with China and try to get off the road. So those are the three components: personally get off the road, try to locally have a better public transit, and as we globally negotiate this issue. But like, I don't know what any of the details mean. Like, yeah, it's just way too big and difficult. Ugh. It's a
So let's
messy
zoom back
question.
into let's zoom back into your personal level. So your car is out there sitting in the parking lot right now, and you learn of this issue, and so your decision is just no, I'm not touching that thing, right? That's kind of what you're deciding is I'm not taking any chance with that.
Yes, I think so. Like that's my knee jerk anyway. Obviously, I would give this some thought, but I definitely wouldn't run out and go to the grocery store without thinking again. Like I would stop and like not crank it until I'd made a decision. But
So
yeah,
what if you had an older car? Like, what if you had a car made in 2006, and it's never been in a wreck? So
yeah. So
the
it's
odds
at one
of your
percent.
car exploding are just a fraction of 1%.
I would actually do some investigation on like, well, what if it's a fraction of a percent to even get in a fatal car wreck anyway on any given time? So because I don't really have a firm grasp on that, and so if it's about the same, then I would probably just take that risk. Do you know what I mean? Like we
Yeah,
sit
yeah,
here and I don't think about every time in the car. Like the reality is I'm risking my life some small degree higher than I would if I stayed home. But I
right.
can't live my life that way and calculate, what I view as just inherent risk to life. Now I'm being so what I would do is I would want to know what are my normal risks and how risky is this really, and so I would be number crunching as much as I could to understand. Wait, this isn't that much riskier than normally getting in the car, and because people die all the time on the road. So
So let's try to examine the morality of a situation. Let's say your neighbor has a new car. Is it morally justifiable for them to just ignore the problem and just throw the dice and assume that they're in the 90% of cars that aren't going to explode and they continue to drive it around?
that's a good question. I think I think weird. Okay, this is ambivalence within me again. I think that no, they cannot ignore the moral imperative. Like they really should make a thoughtful decision and just they're putting me at risk and others at risk. So that is, but I'm not gonna judge them that much if they're going out because I guess I'm the odds of their collateral damage. If they want to take that risk, I'm fine with people taking their calculated risks. And it seems to me that yes, it might explode and have collateral damage, but if a car were to explode next to me and I was in a car presumably too, uh, the idea of it killing me seems, I don't know. Um, I don't know. I just don't know. But I don't know. But this is a tough one. But
So all right, so
I would want everyone to be considering the moral implications of this, and so
so let's go with the easier case then. Let's say they have an older car. Is it is it morally justifiable for them to
I
ignore the problem and drive the car around?
I just think it's never okay to completely ignore. But do
Well,
you mean to
so
make a
you from
conscious decision? Is there a
yeah, from
difference?
your perspective,
They're
you
just
can't
continuing
tell
forward.
whether they crunch the numbers already, like you said you would, or whether they're ignoring the problem. You can't tell. You are walking to school and you see people driving on the road. Can you cast a moral judgment on those people?
Yes, I think I can, and I think I won't, because the degree of which I just don't know, and like I could see myself arriving at the same conclusion possibly in driving. So, and I think there's so many factors about like there's all complications like whether they have to get this paycheck and they'll lose their job and they have to drive and they have mouths to feed, and so I just although I think that they should be considering the moral. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, and I'm not going to exhaust myself considering. Look at all these drivers as they pass me, and I'm flipping them the bird angrily, and like because I'm not. What will I accomplish? Like this because this problem is global and huge that you propose. Like my tendency as a just local like as a just me Daniel is like all right well what control do I have in this situation and how do I exercise it as responsibly as I know how to. And so my anger I'm just not going to start getting mad at my fellow citizenry. Like I'm just not going to get mad at everyone around me. I'm just not going to. Nope. I'm only going to see what can I do and how can I execute it the wisest way possible. So
in this situation, is it moral for businesses to stay open?
Jeez. So these cars only upon being cranked, they're not.
They can
they're,
fail. They can fail at any moment that they're cranked.
Okay.
Or when they're not cranked, and then when you crank it up, it'll blow
That
up.
moment
It's
could
just
be-
whenever the part fails, you can't
Yeah.
tell.
But
When
they're
the part
not
fails or not.
in sitting still, uncranked, no key in the ignition and blowing up. That's not happening.
No. No.
But businesses being open obviously attracts people, invites you to come to them, right? Like,
Right.
but that's assuming that by way of vehicle, motorized vehicle is the only way. Like, so no, I don't. I do not think I do not think businesses staying open is saying you are encouraging patronage, and that means people getting in cars and driving to you in a realistic world.
I mean, think about our current, U.S. society.
Yeah, we just drive to where we
And
just
the pu-
drive
and the-
places. Yeah.
I mean, you are lucky because you can walk to work. If it comes to that,
Yeah.
and you could probably walk to a grocery store.
I mean, yeah.
But
yeah.
I would say that you're in a very small minority.
Agreed. In all of America.
Most people, if we find out this happens, most people are, if they want to make the same calculations that you did, they're going to be stuck. They're not going to be able to go to the grocery store. They're not going to be able to go to work. So things are going
I just think when you just say like, all right, well, no, that's a moral imperative for businesses to shut down. Like, you're just saying what we close the economy, like collapses. Like, I just don't like that would cause more deaths. So businesses have to stay open. No, like they can't just close. It'd be actually morally, it would be immoral to close your business. Or a mistake, like a misapplied search for morality, right?
So, all right, okay. So
I just realized what I think you're doing, but keep going. I can't believe it took me this long, by the way.
Me either.
I can't believe it took me this long.
So is it moral for the government to mandate that people not use their cars? Given the chance of explosion, is it okay for the government to say, all right, everyone, you're not allowed to use your cars?
I'm still blown. My mind is blown that I wasn't getting it at all.
Well, let's not spill the beans. Let's
Sorry,
continue examining the situation.
So will you say that again?
Is it moral for the government to mandate that people not use their cars? Given the chance for explosion and collateral damage, the government says, for everyone's safety, no one use your cars.
This one's tricky too. So no, I think maybe it's their job to tell us the information and to say, like, maybe even it's their job to possibly even provide like hey, go to this website, say how long your commute is, what your car is, how, fill out this questionnaire, and then we will try to help you, equip you with information for the best decision. But like, again, there's no to just sort of offer a blanket statement, people stop, you cannot drive or you'll be fined or arrested or whatever the consequences are. Like
the police jogger will pull you over.
Oh no, on horseback.
On horseback, yeah. No, horses will explode.
Oh well.
No, they won't.
No, there's no freaking way. It's the same reasoning I had as for not getting mad at other people. Like, look, they're having to make their intensely personal calculations based on a number of things, and the idea of the more people. So if I can't judge my neighbor who literally lives next to me, and I probably have some of the same, socioeconomic, if we're located next to each other, there's a lot of similarities that you can presume about people right next to you. Now you're making however many Americans are, what is it, 320? I don't know, 320 million.
Yeah.
Like, who have individualized lives and struggles and decisions to make, and to make any sort of like, nope, you can't drive, which is a kind of a fundamental way of life for so many people. No, I do not think a government could responsibly say that. I do think they could responsibly say, limit your driving. Please don't drive for these reasons. If you must drive, here's the safest way to do so, or whatever. Like, and again, more information is better. Like, go fill out this. I have an 18-mile commute and it takes me this long, and this is how old my car is, and this is my financial situation, and like if you're comfortable revealing those, and then an expert sort of whatever that means. I mean, I don't even see this being feasible on this sort of 320 million person scale either. So I don't know. But no, I can firmly say that just saying, no, you can't drive would be misapplied morality again, like a foolish attempt at morality, a very nearsighted attempt. Yeah.
So, so what? So you came to some sort of eureka moment. What?
It just
Oh,
is
what was that?
the link to the coronavirus and COVID-19, and like saying this is what you can do and this is what you can't do and to what degree, and like your car crashing, your car exploding, being, like virus. I don't know. It's all there. All of it's
Yeah,
there.
I tried.
You hit it well. I
That's like-
don't know why I didn't pick up on it. I'm still hung up on myself, which is silly. But like, I didn't.
I tried the best I could to come up with
It was the
an analogous
business
situation.
question. It was the business question that got me. That when I discovered it, like keeping
Yeah.
businesses open.
Yeah.
I mean, but the fact that we're living in it right now, and the fact that I didn't just immediately go there, I just whatever.
Right. Well, the reason I think it's an interesting question is because I imagine that if people didn't catch on quicker than you did, then they're trying to morally rationalize the situation, and I wonder if the conclusions they reached in this situation are the same as the conclusions that either they reached in our current virus situation or the conclusions that have been societally accepted as the right decisions, broadly speaking.
And I will say
I
that
wonder if those things are the same.
I know it's a really good exercise, and I'm very pleased to say that my feelings were pretty damn consistent in terms of how I would behave in your scenario and how I am behaving now. Like, I generally will try to seek the advice of experts. I will generally just try to look at my own sphere of influence. I'm trying not to judge others. And I also think that there are limitations to what is moral that the government can say. Like if they were just like close down all businesses, like that's. I mean the car crash, like every analogy falls apart at some point, and there's some differences between cars exploding and virus transmission. So
the transmission part is hard to work into the analogy.
The older wait.
Well, I made it. I did it based on proportion. So there are roughly as many newer cars as there are old and vulnerable people to the virus. So
okay.
And about like if you're older than 65, then it's rough. You have roughly a 10%, probably a little lower, chance if you catch the virus.
Very clever, Bennett.
Chance.
I think that's fun for other people. Like if you listen to this podcast, just memorize the scenario and then take it to other people, and maybe they won't catch on either. If you don't have context of we're having another coronavirus discussion, because even saying that, like you and I agree,
I'm so tired.
Yeah, let's not have
honestly.
a podcast about it because we're exhausted collectively. But this was still a neat way to talk philosophically about and morally, I guess, about where this is, because when you say, because we live in a polarized society and all of this, we all have a preconceived idea or developed ideas now about how we should feel about this, and so the second you say,
but the car thing, not necessarily.
Exactly, you didn't say let's have a coronavirus discussion, because if you say that, now I'm gonna go to my bank of ideas that I already possess, ready, and like have cut you off in what you're trying to ask me to examine. But if you say, let's talk about some exploding cars, like, okay, this is completely in theoretical land, and that's a kind of a cool way to think about it.
Let me ask you another moral question that just occurred to me. So what if all the people with new cars, they're making car payments, and they say, we don't want to make these car payments anymore. We're just all going to band together and stop making our car payments. Is that justifiable?
In all things so we've just newly discovered this exploding cars thing, and some people are saying, well, now the terms of my owning a car have changed because I'm maybe not going to drive it anymore, and I can't really sell it the way I don't even see it as moral to sell it necessarily. I mean, I think I get what you're reaching for. I just think that there might be more room to say, well, you can't just say I'm not paying for it. You can't. You've entered into, like, you bought the car, and now you can't say I like it. Just sucks that we learned some new information, and like you're in a
Yeah.
position where, like, so maybe the car seller should be like, okay, you're right, this sucks for you, so we're gonna, because I'd like to sell cars in the future, and because I have some conscience, I'm going to work with you to help you through this time. But I don't think that the car buyer can say, well, the terms changed, so it's not like the car seller changed the terms in a nefarious context. It's like, oh, this thing came to be that didn't
Right.
previously exist, that puts a lot of people in a difficult position. That doesn't mean we can just absolve ourselves of commitments and duties. So it's freaking complicated. It's like, it's that's what I mean. Is like, well, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can't morally. I mean, I think you're the analogy is people are like going on rent strike. Like, I don't think and I'll talk to you more off air, I say, about this. But like, I've been getting a lot of emails. My place of my apartment complex has said, if you pay your rent on time, we're gonna give you $50 off. And they just keep saying, please pay your rent. Remember, by this date, pay your rent.
They
Remember,
must be getting a lot of people threatening not
they
to pay.
did. A lot of people not. I'm guessing anyway. And they said, they were sending reminders like, we will try and, it essentially, the email said, better worded than this, but we'll play nice, and if you have real issues, and they've been sending out emails to help financial relief or anything the government's sent them, they've sent out. And but they said, but like, you need to pay rent. Like, don't put us in the position of just not paying rent and having not talked, like, don't like and offering this $50 incentive to pay rent on time is weird. Well, it's not weird, because I understand, like, you can't just say I'm not paying rent strike. It's more like, why create a villain immediately? Like, you can go to the complex and say, can we work together that I can get you your money in a delayed way, or can this like, they're just, the car buyer in the analogy can't just say, nope, I'm not doing it. Like,
Yeah, this is my excuse to get rid of my
right.
responsibilities.
There was a card seller who, and they were a manufacturer. There were all sorts of things like so yeah. Some circumstances arose that were unpredictable and crappy, and but that just, like, so now I think it's the moral thing for everyone to get together and say, what's the best way to um, play out with this unfair, crappy situation? Like, how can we do this together and, like, in a fair way? Like, yeah, so easy for me
So
to say, like, everyone play nice, but
I have a proposed solution to the problem.
give it to me.
So, what we could do is everyone could take their cars to an isolated location, and from a distance, remotely, however you want to rig it up, with a long stick or with a remote or something, just crank your car and leave it on until you can detect that the part has failed. Because if your engine starts to shudder and you know that the part has failed and it didn't blow up, then your car is, in the analogy sense, immune. Your car's not going to blow up anymore.
Okay.
If your car does blow up, well, this is where it's different from the virus. Is now, like, you can escape without any personal damage to your life. Obviously, your car blew
Yeah,
up,
just
and
some
that's no good.
financial, yeah.
Still a financial burden. But, like, even if you personally, with your newer car, if your car blows up, you survive, you haven't hurt anyone else, and now your car is no longer a danger to everyone else on the road, or bystanders or collateral damage or anything. So if everyone is able to essentially trigger this mechanism, then everyone can get on with their lives, and continue to drive cars, continue to go to grocery stores, continue to go to work. Everyone can do these things without endangering everyone around them.
I don't think it's necessary to get in the minutia of, like, wait, would it have to be cranked for possibly years? Because that's an issue, right? And, like, refilling the vehicle with gas and stupid stuff like that. But
Sure.
but yes, to go ahead and find out how bad it is, in terms of when it does fail, what happens. Okay. So so will you go ahead and explicitly connect that analogy?
Yeah, so in the coronavirus situation, rather than everyone leaving their cars uncranked, I said I'm going to the coronavirus situation, and I immediately analogize. Rather than everyone just social distancing and quarantining up in their apartments and not going out, the people who can tolerate the virus, the people who can safely blow up their car without getting damaged or damaging anyone else, can go out into the world. Maybe they get sick, but they recover and then they're immune and they're no further danger. And once you have a large number of people who are immune, then the people who are vulnerable, who are holed up inside their homes and apartments, they now don't have as much to worry about when they go out in public getting the virus transmitted to them because there are fewer carriers. Herd immunity is the term for that. And so I had an idea, a radical idea, early on. It was mostly a joke, but kind of not a joke. Like, how the cruise industry has been pretty much just shut down. They're just dead. No cruises anywhere. And what we should have done is we should have used some of that gigantic stimulus bailout money, and we should have poured it into the cruise industry, and we should have turned all cruises into what I like to term flu's cruise. And we should have made it so that you can get a free 2-week cruise if you're young and healthy. You can go on a free 2-week cruise, and you're guaranteed to get coronavirus on the cruise. We actually intentionally spread it to people on the ship, and you're just there. You're stuck there, quarantined out in the ocean for 2 weeks in luxury. You're sick and you feel terrible, but you're in luxury. And then, it pulls back into port, and now you have like 3,000 people,
yeah.
3,000 recovered, now immune people back into society. And then if we obviously we don't have enough cruise ships to do this for everyone, but imagine that we did, or we use similar situations with hotels or stadiums or whatever, then we have a 2-week period. Reasonably, we could probably extend that to 1 month, just a 1-month period where these people are out of commission, economy-wise, and then after that, we have a huge section of immune people in the population, and the situation almost resolves itself.
That is
Flu's Cruise. Flu's Cruise. Write it down.
Flu's Cruise 2020.
The next pandemic, we've got this.
I love the thought experiment. I like that though. I like the way you're thinking anyway. It's out there. I mean,
Look, if imagine that situation was real, and they did start this thing, and there are a lot of cruise ships in Florida, and you heard about this deal. You could get a free 2-week cruise. They're going to have medical professionals on board just in case something crazy happens.
right, extra stuff. Yeah, got it.
Because there may be some tiny percentage of people who have an undiscovered secondary condition and they have an adverse reaction. They've got it. This is a professional outfit. And would you go on a cruise like this if you knew you don't have to quarantine yourself and go through all of this hassle and rigmarole that we've all gone through? If you could have found this out back in February and said, you know what, I think I might go on a Flu's cruise, and then you came back after 14 days and didn't have to worry about it anymore, is that something that you would consider?
I mean,
especially if you could go with friends.
Maybe. It just doesn't sound that appealing to go get the flu or corona, but
of course not. But you're probably going to get it anyway.
Under controlled circumstances, and if it was a little more clear on like actually the chance you might just have a sniffle or be asymptomatic, and let's say they find out there's a 40% chance of asymptomatic. Now all of a sudden it sounded a whole lot more appealing. If you're like, that's a coin toss, I might feel nothing and get it, because I just recently had the flu in December, and which, by the way, I've thought about, like, what is that like? Anyway, that really kicked my butt and was terrible. So like, it's fresh in my mind how painful that was, and I do not want to feel that. But if you can make a convincing argument that, look, I'm gonna experience this, but I could experience it on a cruise with some friends, or I could
that's essentially the argument, because
right, that's what you're saying. And so if you're going to, under some controlled circumstances, and even a little more just quick medical attention, and they have Tamiflu or Teraflu or not just that, but like whatever, like whatever form of medication is available that might help and relieve, then okay, like if there's a 30-40% chance I'm asymptomatic, and if I do get something, I'm under careful watch and eye, and I have friends around and entertainment. Okay, well, now we're on to something. So yeah, it's not as ludicrous as it initially sounds. So
That's right, flu screws. You heard it here first.
oh man. On that note, I'm gonna go make some dinner.
Yep, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Yeah, kind of my reason for doing this analogy is because I'm ready for everyone to get out of this whole thing. I'm ready for this coronavirus thing to be over. I find it very tiresome. I'm ready for everyone to get back out there, and the phrase that applies is it's a quote from a movie that I really like, The Dark Knight. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it.
Some men just want to watch the world turn. And that's me. I just want the world to start turning again.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.